What was meant to be a triumphant end to a historic solo tour turned into a haunting silence behind the curtain. As the lights dimmed at Ziggo Dome and cheers erupted from tens of thousands of armies celebrating the last stop of Jin BTS's #Seokjin_repeat tour, no one in the audience knew that behind that final bow, their beloved idol was physically breaking down. Multiple backstage reports now reveal that Jin did not leave the stage on his own power. Moments after his final performance of The Astronaut, eyewitnesses say Jin collapsed just feet away from the exit stairs and had to be physically supported by 2 staff members, nearly unconscious from sheer exhaustion. One assistant described the scene with chilling simplicity. He looked like he had no strength left. Like he gave us everything, too much, maybe. Armies around the world are stunned. How did it come to this? Why was no one there to stop him? Why was there no contingency plan in place when clear signs of Jin's physical strain had been surfacing throughout the last leg of the tour? The signs were there, but everyone missed them throughout the European leg of the tour. Fans had noted how Jin seemed to be pushing himself harder than ever. His voice remained angelic, but his movements were slower, his smile occasionally wavering. At one point during the Berlin concert, a fan video showed Jin gripping the mic stand tightly, as if holding himself upright. But still, he pressed on. He sang. He laughed. He made everyone believe he was fine. He wasn't. Behind the scenes, sources close to the tour now confirm that Jin had been experiencing intense fatigue, back spasms, and bouts of dizziness for days leading up to the Amsterdam shows. But driven by perfectionism, loyalty to his fans, and perhaps pressure from upper management, he refused to cancel or shorten any setlist. He said this was his gift to ARMY, that he wanted to finish strong, no matter the cost, one crew member shared. But that cost came due the moment the final song ended. Silence from HYB, outrage from fans perhaps more painful than the collapse itself is the reaction, or lack thereof, from HYB and its executive leadership. While fans flooded Twitter and Weverse with worry, demanding updates and praying for Jin's health, the company remained eerily quiet. No official statements, no immediate press releases, and most notably, no appearance from Bang Si-hyuk, the very man who helped launch BTS into the stratosphere. This silence did not go unnoticed. In fact, it ignited a firestorm. Armies began trending hashtags like #ProtectJin, #JinDeservesBetter, and #WhereIsHYB within hours. They didn't just want words, they wanted accountability. Why was Jin allowed to push himself to the point of collapse? Why wasn't a backup plan enacted the moment his health began deteriorating? And where were the people who were supposed to protect him? This isn't dedication, it's desperation. Mental health advocates and entertainment insiders alike are now speaking out, calling this a wake-up call for the K-pop industry. Jin's situation isn't an isolated case. It's part of a dangerous pattern where idols are celebrated for their endurance rather than protected from their limits. Jin has always been known as the reliable one, the strong hyung, the emotional anchor of BTS. But even anchors rust under too much pressure. Now in recovery, but still silent, Jin is currently recovering in a private facility in Los Angeles, reportedly under round-the-clock care with his mother and a small circle of trusted people. No photos.
No livestreams. No updates.
Fans are respecting his silence, but the world is holding its breath. Will he be okay? What does this mean for his future projects? Will he ever feel safe enough to tell us the truth? And above all, will HYB finally say something? Until then, fans continue to hold their own vigil, not just for Jin's body to heal, but for his heart to know he's not alone. He never was. Not when he stood on that stage, not when he fell behind it, and certainly not now. Even as Jin quietly rests away from the public eye, his absence speaks volumes. The man who once lit up stadiums with his humor, vocal power, and relentless stage energy is now under full medical supervision, his body worn, his spirit likely questioning everything. For someone who rarely let his pain show, collapsing after his final performance in Amsterdam was not just a physical breakdown, it was a cry that could no longer be silenced. Global outpouring of support across social media. Armies have transformed platforms like X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Weverse into digital candlelight vigils. Messages of hope, apology, and frustration dominate timelines. One fan wrote, "I didn't realize how much he was hiding his pain. We all just wanted to see him happy. Now I wish we told him it was okay to rest sooner." Another comment now going viral simply reads, "He gave us the world, and we watched him fall." The messages aren't just sad, they're angry. Many fans are directing their outrage at HYB labels, specifically Bang Si-hyuk. With Jin being the eldest member of BTS and known for his professionalism, fans argue that if even Jin had to collapse before someone noticed, what does that say about the system behind him? Radio silence from HYB. Again, days have passed since the collapse, and yet no concrete response has been issued by the label. No press conference.
No epalegi.
Not even a vague promise of review. While HYB has always maintained a polished public image, the lack of acknowledgement here is causing cracks in their once unshakable reputation. Insiders hint that Jin's team tried to downplay the incident out of respect for his privacy, but others aren't convinced. Fans are demanding more. Transparency, accountability, and most of all, humanity. BTS members caught in the crossfire. Interestingly, none of the BTS members have made official public statements yet. But observant fans noticed that both Jimin and Jungkook were seen in LA around the same time Jin was reported to have arrived. Jungkook, notably, wore full covering clothes and mask at LAX, likely trying to avoid press or fan attention. Rumors are swirling that he went straight to Jin's side without even checking into his hotel. Armies are clinging to this possible reunion like a lifeline. In a time of silence from the company, the brotherhood of BTS is the only thing they trust. A bigger problem in K-pop, Jin's collapse is now sparking a larger debate about how idols, especially soloists, are treated in the industry. With back-to-back rehearsals, constant travel, high-pressure performances, and little rest, many fans and professionals are now asking, how many more idols have to fall before this changes? Jin, the worldwide handsome, has become a symbol not just of talent and charisma, but of what happens when even the strongest aren't given space to breathe. The heartbreak isn't just that he fell. It's that he did so after giving everything, and almost no one noticed until it was too late. Where do we go from here? There's no official update from Jin or his management. But one thing is clear, ARMY isn't waiting quietly anymore. Petitions have started. Fans are organizing online campaigns under hashtags like #JusticeForJin and #StopOverworkingIdols. Some are even demanding an independent audit of idol touring schedules and mental health protocols. But perhaps the most painful question remains unanswered. Will Jin return? Not to the stage, but to us.
Whole. Happy.
Heard. Until then, the world continues to watch. Not with celebration, but with trembling hope. As global concern mounts and pressure builds online, the world's attention now turns to a single question that echoes louder than the applause at any of his sold-out shows. Will Jin speak? Historically, Kim Seokjin has always been thoughtful in his timing. Never one to rush to social media after dramatic events, he often chooses reflection over reaction. But this time feels different. The magnitude of worry, the avalanche of fan heartbreak, and the silent void left by HYB have created a vacuum only he can fill. Insiders close to the situation hint that Jin is aware of the online movement and has been reading messages from fans. One unnamed source whispered, "He knows they're worried. He knows they're angry." And that breaks him more than the pain in his legs. There is also speculation that Jin is drafting a handwritten letter, not a flashy Instagram story or PR-crafted tweet, but something personal, intimate, and raw. A message not just to say, "I'm okay," but to finally unveil the truth he had been hiding from the very fans he never wanted to worry. The silence from Bang Si-hyuk, strategic or indifferent, and yet, while all eyes wait on Jin, Bang Si-hyuk remains a ghost in this narrative. The man who once stood behind BTS's rise has not issued a single public comment about Jin's health, the collapse, or even gratitude for the tour's success. This silence is no longer seen as professionalism. To many, it's apathy in disguise. Why hasn't he reached out publicly? Is HYB suppressing the truth to protect its brand? Or is this a fracture in the relationship between Jin and the man who once believed in him the most? Some armies have begun to believe this may not just be a health issue. It may be a symbolic unraveling of something deeper, of an idol finally realizing that loyalty must go both ways. Armies aren't just watching, they're fighting back in a move unprecedented in K-pop fan culture. Major international fan bases are now demanding regulatory change. Petitions are being submitted to Korean entertainment bodies requesting mandatory health monitoring for solo tours, transparent performance caps, and third-party oversight during high-demand schedules. This isn't about drama anymore. It's about survival.